Hey, Trailblazers, this is Jason, your host of the Trailblazing Texas podcast. Before we jump into our latest episode, I've got some incredible news for you. Are you gearing up for your next big hike or backpacking trip? Well, we at Trailblazing Texas podcast have partnered up with Trekker Joe's, the ultimate Texas outfitter, to bring you something I feel absolutely special. Listeners, you of the Trailblazing Texas podcast can now get a one-time 15% off their gear purchases at Trekker Joe's. That's right. Whether you're a first-time customer at Trekker Joe's or a repeat customer like me, you can save big and hit the trails well prepared. So upon checkout, use code TTP15 to claim your 15% discount and in the process support an amazing local Texas business. So happy trails, and don't forget to tell your hiking buddies. Now on with the episode. Welcome to the Trailblazing Texas podcast, where we embark on a journey through our diverse Texas landscapes and breathtaking trails while always engaging with our amazing Texas hiking community. So settle in, tighten up those bootlaces, and get ready for the thrilling tales awaiting for you on this episode. So, Sarah, what is one thing, let's say if you go back to your first big adventure, what is one thing you wish you would have known before attempting it?
Don't drink alcohol at 9,000 feet the night before climbing a 14er with 3 hours of sleep.
Yeah, all right.
I wish I could have told 25-year-old Sarah that.
Yeah, all right. Brad, what about you?
Well, don't drink alcohol ever when you're hiking.
Yeah.
Although it's created some fun stories with you.
Yeah. Just be aware. Don't be afraid to stop. Don't be afraid to say no or yes, depending on what it is that's being asked of you.
Yeah.
I'm sometimes a little hard-headed, but listen to the others, listen to the group, listen to your body.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's my biggest thing. I wish, like if I could go back and tell myself, it would be take it seriously. It's a trail or there's nothing technical about it, but you can still die. You can still fall, you can still break a leg, but take it serious. Even now when my wife, she hikes with me, but she has rules, or backpacks with me, but there's rules with distance and number of nights out. But I mean, even like when we go neighborhood, I call it neighborhood hiking, and I usually don't go because I don't like it, but I will go sometimes with her. And, even just in your neighborhood, take it serious. Be prepared. Wild dogs running around the neighborhood, two-legged people that are, that don't wish you any good. Just, it's every time you step out, take it seriously and be alert. And I think, no matter what happens, then you hopefully will be prepared for it. All right. So talking about these, I think, Brad, you just mentioned hydration and nutrition. How do you prepare for these big things that you do?
So the night before, I'll carb load pretty well. My food choices are probably not the best, but I live off of Dots pretzels because they do provide you with pretty good carbohydrates and they're salty. Lately, I've been eating just cucumbers and peppers. And my choices of food are kind of weird sometimes, but I do carry a lot of electrolytes with me, more than I need, plenty for others if I need to share them. I carry extra water. I do use a bladder, but I also carry bottles, depending on the hike. A filter when we do hikes that are where there's known to be no accessible filtered water available. I'll have to filter it myself, so I do carry a filter in those cases. And I try to hydrate as much as I can before, during, and after a hike. It's important that you do that for sustaining yourself through it, and then the recovery of the hike itself it's important that you do that. I cramp a lot when I hike, even if I do a lot of electrolytes, and so I don't know if that's just my age or if there's some medicine that I'm taking that's causing me to cramp up. I have arthritis, knees pretty bad, and so I take a lot of supplements and other medications, prescription medication to help combat that. And I think there may be some issues with that cause me to cramp up. So I don't think I could ever overhydrate. So it's it's difficult for me to get through a hike and know that I'm going to feel good the next day, no matter what I do. But it's weird how sometimes some of the harder ones I've done, we just did Baton Death March, 26.2 miles. And I felt great the next day. I just knew I was going to wake up and, crawl to the bathroom. But I felt great. I felt a little sore, but it's strange how we can do those and feel good. And then we did one in the canyon and I felt terrible for a couple of days afterwards. And I prepared the same for every hike.
That's crazy. Have you ever tried for the cramps pickle juice?
I hate pickles and I hate pickle juice.
I'm just saying. My stepdad gets cramps every time we hike, like to where he's screaming and rolling on the ground. They hurt so bad. But after a hike, and maybe he should even do it before, we stop at the store. He drinks pickle juice, doesn't eat the pickles, just drinks the juice, and never has he had a cramp.
I'd rather have a cramp than eat a pickle or drink the juice. I do.
It might be a lack of pickles in your diet, Brad, that's causing
Yes,
that.
I bet you it is.
I carry mustard. I'll carry mustard packs.
Yeah.
And it works. So does antacid. I guess there's a lot of magnesium in, say, a Tums. And so chewing on those will help knock a cramp down. I do have a bottle of stuff, and literally it's called leg cramps is the name of and the instructions say take 3 of these. And if it doesn't work, take 3 more. So I don't know if it works or not, but that plus the mustard and the leg cramp medicine and the Tums seems to help contribute to knocking them back some. But I'll almost inevitably have some cramps when I'm hiking a big long one.
Well, I just want you to know that here on the Trailblazing Texas podcast, we are accepting of all hydration. I don't know what the right word is. Ideas, concepts, plans. So your bladder usage is okay with me.
Yeah. Your use or your stepfather's use of pickle juice is okay by me.
All right, good.
Don't
good.
hand me the bottle. I'm not drinking it.
All right.
Yeah, Brad's not that opinionated about many things. He's a pretty easygoing, go with the flow kind of guy, but goodness, he feels strongly about pickles.
It's just because they're gross. They're disgusting. That's the only reason.
Love them.
Next question.
So, Sarah, what about you? How do you handle nutrition and hydration on some of the big things that you do?
Well, Brad knows I'm a creature of habit. My go-to the night before a big hike or race is a baked potato usually with chili or something. I find that potatoes fuel me really well. I prefer that to pastas, kind of like the traditional pasta dinner before a race. I swap that out with a big potato. And I always do like a special shopping trip for my hiking snacks. Like I've already got it on my to-do list for Wednesday before we head out for the Grand Canyon to go buy whatever looks interesting to me in the store. I learned when hiking in Colorado, especially dealing with the high altitude and some of the nausea that can come with that it's best just to eat whatever looks appetizing. It doesn't necessarily have to be nutritious while you're on the trail.
Yeah.
I suppose, that's probably preferred, but if gummy worms are the calories that you can stomach, go ahead and have gummy worms. So I'll buy a mix of salty things and sweet things that I'll just graze on throughout the hike. I really like Snyder's has this sourdough, like cheese pretzel bits. Those are great for me during hikes, and that gives you carbs while you're going. jerky, different kinds of candy. I do the electrolytes as well. Brad taught me the good routine of, down one 16-ounce bottle of electrolytes, follow it up with plain water for the next bottle, and just kind of rotate between the two. That works really well for me. And then I love to have something in the car waiting for me when I get back. So I really love melons. I love watermelons so much, or honeydew or anything like that. So that's wonderful and rehydrating for after the hike.
Yeah.
I will keep pickles in the car. I just don't show them to Brad. And then it's sometimes I crave a Coke or something, which
Yeah.
I very rarely drink in normal life. So it's nice to have a soda or something waiting for you in the car.
We have been known to just take our electrolytes straight out of the packet and not mix it in water either. So
Only Helen. I don't think I've ever done
you
that.
gave me
But she'll
a
just,
packet of caffeinated electrolytes on our last
oh yeah,
lead run.
that's right.
And yeah, just pour it on the tongue and wash it.
Our friend Helen is known to just pop a noon tablet in her mouth and just let it fizz. She
Oh,
becomes
Yeah,
like a rabid dog, but she's a special breed.
yeah.
So
Mentioning the snacks though too. When we did a rim to river, there was 5 of us that did that, and we had a white elephant snack exchange.
oh no.
Yeah. So, uh, and there was some unusual shaped snacks on that, and then
Yeah.
also somebody brought. I brought some cheese covered crickets. Somebody else brought
Oh,
crickets, freeze dried crickets on there. We had smoked trout.
yeah, let me give some context to this idea. So it was the first time that we had planned to do a big intercanyon hike all as a group. Brad had done a rim to rim before, and I'd done a rim to river. But I knew, at some point the going's going to get tough. So I was like, we need something to motivate us. So let's do like a nice like snack exchange. It'll be a nice surprise. And yeah, I had a friend literally smoke a trout for me that I carried down there on ice and whipped out for breakfast because we did an overnight hike. But everyone else thought it'd be funny to bring just yeah things like chocolate covered crickets and other kind of novelty candies and stuff. I think we had different intentions here.
well, if that ever happens, Brad, I'm bringing you that burrito.
Okay. I think during is okay. It's just before that's not.
Oh yeah, it'll hit you on the drive home, even better.
Yeah.
With some pickle sprinkles.
Yeah.
So, Sarah, what's been your biggest gear mistake that you've made, and what did you learn from it?
Ooh, Jason, I'm not sure I've really had a lot of bad gear mistakes yet. It has been a process to get my boots locked back in the last few months. You find a boot that you like or a trail runner and tend to stick to it. And we know it's so important to break in shoes before a big hike of any sort. But, these things have caps, once you hit 3, 4, 500 miles, that's it. And unfortunately, the shoe companies are always changing things. So you can't just buy the same model. So I've been dealing with that over the last few months. I used Vask boots
Hmm.
for the last few years. Unfortunately, Vask is out of business. It's been bought by another company. So they're not making boots anymore. And I experimented with some more like minimalist footwear because I really like the light quality of these types of shoes and boots. But um, they weren't working great for me. Someone finally was like, "You should look on eBay," and I was like, "Really? Do you think eBay is going to have a women's 9 Vask Breeze Gore-Tex? Like that seems so niche. I don't know." But I looked, and sure enough, they did. So I bought all 3 pairs that they had. So I should be set.
So, any listeners out there that have a pair of Vask size 9 women's sitting in their closet not being used, hit up
That's right.
Sarah.
Yeah, look me up.
All right. Brad, what about you? Any biggest or big gear mistakes that you've made?
Not really mistakes. I've avoided a few, I think. On my first rim to rim hike, I had trained in some Nike trail runner shoes, and I I had 3 pairs of the same shoes, and I'd gone through those, and I learned a lot from Facebook groups on doing the rim to rim hike. And for people that don't know, it's like climbing a mountain in reverse. So you go down for 7 miles, and then there's relatively flat trail for 13, and then it's uphill. And continuous downhill hiking like that can be terrible on your feet.
Yeah.
And so I literally, at the last minute, made a decision and switched out from my Nike
Ooh.
Ultra Lone Peaks that I had never worn before. I bought them the week before the hike. I saw where somebody had suggested that I wear those, and because of the toe box, the shape of the toe box for the downhill portion of the hike would be beneficial to wearing those. And I'm not one to blister. I don't blister. My feet don't, knock on wood. I've never really had a problem with blistering. Toenails is a whole different thing. And I recycle toenails on a very regular basis when I do big hikes. Yeah. I lost on my last rim to rim, I lost 5 toenails. Half of my toenails fell off. And I just now, to give you an example, it takes a long time for a big toenail to regrow. And about 8 months, if anybody's wondering. So I'm just now being able to trim the right big toenail.
Just in time for our rim to rim next week. That's good.
So, and I'll get a pedicure. I'll probably go get one next week before we go on our big hike, and just have somebody else do it for me so that I can be ready for that. And then I'll go get one afterwards, and the lady will look at me real funny and like, what is wrong with your feet? Because I'll have these just black toes, and I'll have to explain to her why my toes look the way they do. So anyhow, the last minute change out of the shoes, I think, was good and bad. I think I would have been worse off wearing those Nike shoes down into the downhill like that versus the Ultras that I switched out. And I've never looked back. I wear the Ultras now. And I have, last count, I have 6 different pair of Ultra shoes. And I just ordered another pair of Timps that'll be here on Tuesday that I'm going to probably wear on our new hike. Yeah. So, and both of my sons have Ultras too. So I'm Club Ultra.
Yeah, I actually just looked at my shoe cabinet where I keep all of my expired and upcoming boots and shoes and stuff. And I realized I have more hiking boots and running shoes than I have like normal work shoes. I think I have like 6 or 7 pairs of like everyday work kind of shoes, and I think I have 13 pairs of hiking boots and shoes.
So to add to both of y'all's comments, I have 7 toenails that are transitioning that I'll be losing, and I've got 13 pair of hiking and backpacking shoes. And yeah, I'm an ultra. So here's what happened to me. My hiking season is from first weekend of September to May or June. Usually May, and if I can find some cool days in June, I'll do it. This year will be the first year that I'm going to try to hike all through the summer. And for me, it's not so much the heat because, hiking at night or hiking during early in the mornings, I can mitigate the heat. It's the damn horseflies and mosquitoes that we have down here, because I'm usually on the Lone Star Hiking Trail every Sunday. So that really, really gets me. And what happened with the ultras, this past hiking season kicked off, and I did a 22-mile day just out of the blue, and I started getting issues with my Achilles on both feet, and I'm like, oh crap, and they were not going away, so I switched over to Hoka's, and man, I'm not sure I'm going back to Ultras. I mean to Lone Peaks. Those things are spectacular, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got every Lone Peak since 4 till current. Well, I don't have the 9 pluses, but I have all the way up to the 8s. Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna.
One thing that they don't have that the Lone Peaks don't have is the cushioning that I need, and so that's why I ordered a pair of Tim's. I tried them on; they just didn't have the color I like.
Yeah.
I got a $250 gift card to REI
Oh no.
and waited until their sale. So yesterday, I ordered them, so I could get 20% off. And so they'll be here just in time for me to break them in the Grand Canyon.
To make another bad decision about shoes.
But
Oh gosh.
that's right.
That's funny. Yeah, I like the Hokas too. I started using Hokas for road running, and so far there's no competition. I like the Ultras. I use the Lone Peaks for trail running. They're all right, but yeah, Hokas are pretty
I
cush.
bought a pair of On Clouds and went to a convention in Vegas, and I did a run in them. I ran down the strip one morning, and I don't know what happened, but it tore up the one of my tendons in my feet. This was over a year ago, and
Gee.
I went right back to where I bought them and said, "Look, these shoes are not right for me. Something's wrong." And I still to this day have issues with my right foot and the tendon. Usually, when I'm not moving, is when I have the problems. But I've developed tendonitis just over that one run, and it was the shoes that did it.
Yeah.
When you're a hiker, your feet are everything. Without them, you're not a hiker.
Yeah, and like for the Hokas, I didn't see uh maybe they do have a brand, but I wish they would have the toe box that the Lone Peaks have, and I wish they would be set up to wear gaiters, like ankle gaiters. And so I had to add Velcro on the back of mine, and I think I could use the ultras, the gator, the clip, the front shoelace. I don't think that was an issue, but it was just, I wish they would have a wider toe box and have the back end ready for a gator, because hiking and trail running, it's important for sure.
Have you tried Topos?
I have not, but I follow a gentleman, coach for Marion Outdoors. If you're not following him on TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook, he has the absolute best content. He owns a small outfitting company on the AT, so he has all the AT through hikers, and he's talks a lot about those, and that currently those are the most popular shoe on the AT, and he raves about them. So I definitely will look into those for sure.
Yeah, I think that might be my next trail runner. I've tried some of their road running shoes. We've got a great running store here in Amarillo, Get Fit, that does a lot of demo runs. You get to try out a bunch of different products and things. They've got that wide toe box, which is great, but I think a little bit more cushioning. Of course, they've got different lines, but they seem very promising. And likewise, I've heard just only good things about them.
Nice. All right, so you meet me on the trail, and I just got into hiking and backpacking. Brad, this one's for you. And tell you, Brad, I want to level up my hiking and backpacking game. What is one piece of advice that you would give me?
I'd say set some goals, small and large goals. I think it's important when you're doing a hike that you know that ultimately you got to make it to the top of that mountain. But there's little goals that you can make beyond that. And so we did Elbert with there was a group of us that did it. And, inevitably somebody halfway through, it's like, I can't do this. I got to turn back. I'll meet you. I'll wait for you. I was like, well, hold on. Look, you see that rock, that's 100 yards ahead. Let's just get to that. All right. And then we'll take a little break. And then let's set another goal, the next rock up. And so doing those small goals to get to the big goal, I think is important in being successful. Because you can do it, hate it, but if you do it and enjoy it, and I think by setting small goals and making winning little battles at a time, it ultimately it feels better at the end of the hike rather than just keeping your head down and trudging through it and fighting through the pain and hating it the whole way. I think winning along the way contributes to an overall better experience and makes you want to do it again.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing I would say is, set a big goal, but then have little goals in between.
Sarah, what about you?
Consistency is key, I think, with any sort of training, really with any sort of skill.
Yeah.
Consistency is so important. because then your threshold continues to increase. And as your endurance, as your strength increases, it just makes it all much more enjoyable. I definitely remember when I was first starting to hike, um, just feeling that burning in my lungs and in my legs, and thinking, "This is unpleasant. I don't think I want to do this." And I rarely have that feeling anymore. Really, your body is capable of changing and capable of adapting, and that consistency is so important. And I think too, hiking really teaches you, hiking, camping, any sort of endurance activity, teaches you that nothing is permanent. So if you're able to just accept that in the moment and understand this is uncomfortable, this is unpleasant, but that's just for right now. It's gonna pass, and it ain't nothing but a thing. You just got to get through it, and ultimately you'll be on the other side of it.
I think for me, usually, like when think of leveling up, it's exactly what you guys said, that you're probably going to be getting into some uncomfortable situations. Um, Embrace them would be my thing. Is, I guess it's a famous quote from, was it Darwin on the Trail? Embrace the suck. Understand, for me, like, it's really a blessing that we have the opportunity to hike and backpack, enjoy it, and don't look at it as, I don't know, something that is a pain. Just look at it in a different light and accept that you're going to be uncomfortable, and put yourself out there, right? And it's okay to fail. There's not one person that I've ever talked to as a hiker backpacker that was successful 100% of the time. But it's like beekeeping. I'm a beekeeper. I have hives in my backyard. You're going to, as a beekeeper, kill hives. You should expect that you're going to make a mistake, and and you're going to lose a hive, and it's going to be because of you. That, just accept that. And if you never put yourself out there, then you never grow. So yeah, you guys had some great answers for that. All right, next section, we're going to focus more on your backyards. So Brad, what are the must hiking trails of Palo Canyon or Caprock?
So everybody says the lighthouse. You got to do the lighthouse, and I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
At Palo Canyon, it's the trail everybody goes and does, and it's one of the busiest trails probably in the state. I assure you, there's always somebody on that trail, and it is a great hike. It's it has the lighthouse itself at the end of it, which is an iconic hoodoo and a kind of a symbol of this area. If you like crowds and worn out trails, that's a great one to do. However, for me in Palo Canyon, I personally like the Comanche trails, the upper and lower Comanches. Maybe incorporate rock garden into it. So upper Comanche starts at one end of the park and goes all the way through, and you can actually go from the bottom of the park up to the rim, back down, and to the bottom of the park. So it covers the length of the canyon that is the park. And so that's one at Palo Canyon. At Caprock Canyons, I would say South Prong up to Haynes Ridge, and then back down either the Haynes Ridge Trail or come back around through the North Prong. The South Prong is beautiful and less traveled, and it's amazing how a quarter of a mile's difference or around the bend the look can be in the canyon or in the park itself, because it is completely different. The colors are remarkably different, and sometimes the solitude that you get makes it so much better as well. So me telling you which one they should do is probably going to ruin the solitude component. So everybody's going to want to go do it now.
Yeah. Sarah, do you agree, or do you have some different trails that come to mind?
I agree. I would say that if someone is coming to Palo Duro with the intention of hiking the Lighthouse Trail, a really nice alternate route is to take the GSL, the Gibbon Spicer Lowry Trail. It is a little bit longer of a hike, so certainly you need to be prepared for that. Instead of a 6 mile out and back, it might be, what, Brad, 8 or 9 miles if you do
Yeah.
out and back. But I think the GSL has some of the best hoodoos in the park as far as on a maintained trail. I really enjoy that trail. I think my approach is different depending on what my goal is. If I'm going out to do some trail running, I really like to go to the lower trails in the Inner Canyon that are flatter, maybe not as stunning in terms of view or hoodoos, but really nice for that purpose. I really like the CCC trail, especially if I'm short on time. That trail, the upper trailhead for it is up near the park entrance. So if you don't have a lot of time to drive down into the canyon, it's a great option. You can even do that as a point to point. If you park another car at the bottom, you can avoid having to do the uphill or vice versa. You could start at the bottom and avoid having to do the downhill. So I think there's a lot of different purposes or a lot of different activities you can do depending on what your purpose or your intent is with the trails. Other areas in Amarillo that I think are really underrated are Wildcat Bluff. We have this wonderful, it's sort of like a nature trail system that's owned by the Discovery Center in Amarillo. That is just north of town, and it's very quiet up there. I do a lot of trail running there. Most of the time, I don't encounter anyone, or maybe one or two other people. We've also got some new trails in town. We call them the Ninth Street Trails that are created by this mountain biking group, Six Pack Outdoors, that has done a lot of work to create some new trails in the Amarillo area. Because there's not a lot here, so I think you really appreciate what is here. And those are two spots that I enjoy going to when I don't have the time necessarily to drive out to Palo Duro.
And so, Brad, kind of kicking off with Sarah's answers, what do you think are some hidden? I don't want to know the hidden locations of things that you've discovered, but just things that are made public through the state park or your local communities. What do you think are some hidden gems or lesser known trails that people should check out?
Without telling you the hidden ones, yeah. And I'm not going to do that because I respect and I don't want people knowing about them because that destroys the integrity of those trails and areas altogether. So, uh, Rock Garden Trail is a great one. People are sometimes afraid that, because it's all uphill, that it's just impossible to do, but it's a great one. And when you get to the top of the canyon, when you get to the rim and you can look out and see the canyon and it's, basically the entire canyon, that's a great one. Even continuing on with Rock Garden and going out to, there's Duck Pond, which is, I've never seen any ducks there. I don't know why they call it that, but that's beside the point. But there's also some other overlooks back that way that are really good, and I assure you, you'll probably be the only one back in there in that area. So I forget the name of that overlook. I should remember that, but
Tub Springs Draw.
Tub Springs Draw, yes. So that'll take you out into the southern. You'll be looking out over the southern component of the park, and I really think that that's a great one. Rock Garden is a great workout, and when you get up there, you can just it flattens out. You're on the rim and all alone.
For the secret spots, to add to what you said exactly, I think people should earn that knowledge. And I think when you earn the knowledge, then and you know what you've put into it, then you're going to respect it more. Like Jose's grave, I go visit Jose, I don't know, for the last 4 or 5 years, every time I go to the Guadalupes. It took me 2.5 years to, not every day, but when before trips, I would research where the location was. I had a gentleman who just actually passed away in Van Horn, Mr. Espinosa. We would talk. He had a restaurant in Van Horn. We would talk about Jose's grave, and he was kind of couldn't remember, but like all the research that I did, and I finally found it. I had so much more respect for the history of Jose, his grave, I go out there and pick up trash because it's just right off the highway where you would never even see it. It's kind of on probably about a 50 or 60-foot drop from the highway. So people are throwing trash and stuff from the highway. But yeah, for secret spots, in my view, you need to earn it. I don't know what that means. Like you research, Google, put in the time and the effort. But yeah, I'm not at all about giving up secret spots. Brad, this is for you. What do you think the best time of year is to hike? Let's just say the Panhandle, but especially the Palo Duro and Caprock.
I'd say the fall, even in the wintertime, it's the weather here is crazy. And it literally can be 80 degrees one Saturday and snowing the next. And I know that because it was that way just a few months ago.
Yeah,
And so the fall weather is more in line with being able to enjoy a hike. And in the spring, we get a lot of rain. We'll have periods of heavy rains, and they'll close the park down completely. And then also after that comes the heat. So for me, it's the fall. If I am going to hike in the summer, it's either really early in the morning or at night.
Sarah, what about you?
I really like the winter. For a lot of the same reasons Brad's mentioning. I much prefer the cold to the hot. I'm pretty heat intolerant. Been working on that as we build up to this rim to rim for the Grand Canyon. And my dog as well. She's really heat intolerant. So I really like winter hiking. There's also not the issue with snakes that you find, of course, in the summertime. We also, in addition to snakes, we kind of have like spider season here. And I do a lot of running early in the morning. And if you're the first person on the trails, oh gosh, you've got to have a spider stick. um, get them out of the way while you run down the trail. I do not like spiders. I do not enjoy that.
Like the brown tarantulas or the webs?
No, no, the webs.
You know, they'll build a web between the that spans the trail.
Yeah, it just goes right across the trail. The best scenario is if you get to a trailhead and there's some mountain bikers pulling up. You just wait for them to go, and then you're clear. Otherwise, I think I need a taller dog or something. I don't know. That's my least favorite thing about summertime hiking and running. But yeah, winter's great, and I kind of like the extreme. I mean, I like the challenge of the wind and of the snow. I just see it as part of the fun and part of the horrible the horrible time that we kind of seek out sometimes.
Sarah, this one's for you. We're going back to back. How, and this would be very interesting for me. How does hiking in Texas compare to the other states that you've hiked in and lived in?
Hmm. It's more accessible here, I would say. I think it's safer in some ways. As I mentioned at the start of the interview, you can see for really far here, so it's difficult to get lost. You kind of always have your bearings, and that's been important on some of these off trail hikes that we've done. We aren't exactly sure where we are right at this moment, but we can see what we're aiming for.
You're right.
I think it's also one of the biggest differences how chill it can be. We don't often do chill hikes, but it's not like in Colorado where you've got to be at the trailhead before sunrise, either because of weather concerns or because of parking concerns. Here, you can, depending on the time of year, you can roll up at 10, 11 in the morning and have a nice hike. It's a more relaxed way to approach things, which sometimes is welcome. So, but at the same time, you can push yourself further because of that, because of the sense of security that's around. And we have a nice infrastructure in the canyon where we can place cars in different places so that we can really push ourselves to do um, difficult hikes and repeats of hikes and longer mileage. And you have an out because there are multiple trailheads and things connect together. And that's a really different experience and different vibe than Colorado or Virginia.
Yeah. So, how do you think hiking in Texas compared to other states that you've hiked in?
It's different for sure. You know, you've got to go seek elevation for one thing. or sometimes you have to go down before you can go back up. That's for sure. Uh, the temperatures always is something you're going to have to be aware of. The unpredictable weather is another thing. You have to be careful. This time of year, you could go out on a hike and you don't know what's going to come. A thunderstorm could roll in. Of course, that could happen. And even on the mountains, you probably want to be off the summit before noon if you're hiking in Colorado or New Mexico, because in the summertime the storms are going to roll in, and the same thing can happen here. When you're out in an exposed area, you just got to be careful. It's I don't know how to explain it, but I like the fact that we have these canyons here, and they're sometimes I enjoy just a flat hike that you will get, like Sarah does with these inner canyon trails. They're pleasant to do, but it's there's everything we do is in Texas that I do is I'm either driving to Guadalupe Peak to do it, and that's a 5 hour hike. That's a big thing, or I'm staying in this area and I'm spending the night at home. I'm going back home. It's hard for me to say what. Uh,
So I think for me, the biggest difference that I see, so I've hiked in a lot of places, is in Texas, you're almost guaranteed a huge water carry. Due to the heat that we have. You hike in Washington or you hike in Colorado, you're almost guaranteed you're going to cross a stream, a creek. So carrying 7, 8, 9 liters of water on a backpacking trip, it probably isn't a must. My friend John, just to kind of make fun of me of how much water I carry, through the quads, is he did the Wonderland Trail, or they attempted the Wonderland Trail. It was last June, I think it was, and he didn't carry any water at all. He just carried a life straw. So, there was, because there's so many streams and creeks and snow runoffs that, he didn't need it. So I think outside of the heat, well, there's a lot of states that are as hot as us. I think it's just the water carry that has always struck me, or even people that I talk to about what it means to hike in Texas, that they are shocked with that, the water carries that we have to have, and the weight, that entails. So
Yeah, this is super stark landscape out here. You're right. There are not a lot of water sources. The same was true in Virginia. I mean, you're crossing a stream everywhere, and even parts of New Mexico, like I mentioned, that Gila wilderness. That is one of the difficulties here.
Even with a live straw, I would question whether I'd want to drink the water that we would find in this area.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
the Lone Star Hiking Trail, it's a lot of neighborhood runoffs, and yeah, I'm not drinking that water, so I cache. Like I go out, a day before and start caching water. Sarah, what is one thing that you have, I don't know, seen that surprises people about hiking in Texas? Like I mentioned a second ago about the water carries. Do you have anything different that you've experienced?
I think a lot of the time people are surprised that there is hiking in Texas. I mean, I probably would have been in that camp. I just didn't know a lot about hiking in the state. And I think there's sort of an unspoken rule that whatever state you grow up in, you have to hate the state next to it. So I grew up pretty anti-Texas, being from Louisiana. And Texas was always somewhere we had to pass through to get somewhere else. It wasn't really much of a destination. Of course, now I understand what it does have. It's worth exploring, of course. But yeah, people are always shocked, especially if their experience, like I said earlier, is just driving through the Panhandle. They have a pretty unfavorable or unremarkable impression of the area. I've only been down to Guadalupe once, and I've not made it to Big Bend yet. I will, but those areas are an entirely different kind of landscape that I had no idea existed in Texas. And then, of course, people are kind of scared or surprised by like tarantulas, for example, in this area. Like I said earlier, I don't think they're a threat at all. It's the other spiders and the snakes
Yeah.
that are more of the problem. But that is always something that makes people's heads turn. Most people don't grow up with that in their backyard.
Brad, what about you?
People think that Texas is always hot, which in certain places it may be, but it also gets really cold. In the Panhandle, we'll have I've seen 2 feet of snow on the ground here.
No.
We've hiked in negative temperatures, below zero temperatures before here. So, I think that a lot of people, they assume that everyone's cowboys, and that there's tumbleweeds blowing around everywhere. And that's not always the case. It's such a big state, and there's so many different things. There's mountains, there's canyons, there's forests, there's coastal areas. It's so diverse in what and where you can go and what you can experience. Down where you have the Lone Star hiking trail, and then up here where we've got Palo Canyon, and then you can go out to the southwest part of the state and go to Big Bend, and they're all different. They're completely different areas and different types of hikes that you can do.
Yeah, I think people are really surprised by the weather in the Panhandle in particular. I find it's easy to explain geography of Texas to non-Texans as whatever state it's next to. So I call this New Mexico, Texas, that we live in, up near Dallas, Oklahoma, Texas, and there's Louisiana, Texas. And people are always shocked with how much snow we get here. I think this probably has changed since I moved here, but it was an average of 17 inches of snowfall a year. Um, and my first year, I think it was the winter of 2020 and 2021, we had 33 inches of snow. That was more than I had in the 2 years that I lived in the mountains in Virginia. So it is pretty wild and wide ranging as well.
That's surprising for me, and I've lived in Texas my whole life to have once I started hiking and backpacking, really paying attention to the weather, and like, wow, it's actually snows that much in Texas. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Also, I think that for me, that surprises a lot of people is, you guys nailed it, is how diverse. Like, how many states are as diverse as we are with our geographical regions and what you can experience? I don't know too many. New Mexico probably. We have the deserts, and at elevation in the deserts you have forest, and then we have the coastal, like what you guys said. I think that's the biggest thing. I'm posting pictures, and there's not one time where I don't get a comment like, "Where'd you travel to?" And I'm like, I'm still in Texas. What? That's not Arizona, or that's not, wherever. And like, no, it's a mountain in Texas, or that's the desert, or that's the, here in Texas. And I think we definitely, as a community, are really, really, really lucky to be in the state that we're in. So speaking of heat, Brad, how do you handle your extreme heat in the Panhandle? Because that can kill you.
Yes, it can. I learned through training for the rim to rim and then actually doing the rim to rim. I wear a UV protected hoodie, so I try to keep the sun off of me. In incredibly hot environments, I'll wear a cotton shirt underneath that, and I can soak that shirt with water, put the hoodie back on, and it acts as an air conditioner where the air can flow through and keeps me. I'll actually get cold. It sounds weird, but I can get in the shade I've done this at the Grand Canyon where it's 100 degrees and I can get in the shade and I'll get cold because my body, like the core temperatures, which is important, is keeping your core cool. It will literally bring my temperature down considerably. And so I wear shorts though all the time, even in the winter. So yeah.
Shorts and flip flops.
Yeah. So even in some of the coldest weather, I'll wear shorts, but in the hot weather as well. I probably don't do as good a job of wearing sunscreen as I should. I know that that's important to do. But then just keeping yourself hydrated Starting out before it gets hot and trying to finish before the heat comes in is important. Doing it at night when the heat's gone is another factor that you should, if you're going to hike and you got to get it in, do it when it's dark, when the sun
Yeah.
goes down. So we've actually reserved campsites not to camp, but just so I can get a gate code so that I can go in before the gates open and start a hike. And so that we can get there and start a hike at 5 a.m. or earlier, because we know that it's going to be horribly hot that day. So avoiding the heat is probably the best way to manage high temperatures. But if you must hike in it, then wear the proper clothing and carry the appropriate electrolytes and water that you need to survive it.
I love what you just said about booking a campsite. Yeah, it's $5-10, whatever, $20 max probably. Getting that gate code and starting your hike early. Like, so to me, what that represents is think outside of the box. You know that there's going to be high temperatures. You know the time frame of these high temperatures, and how can you manipulate the experience to not put you in those high temperatures. And what's funny is, so I call it the panel. So it's me and a couple other of my hiking partners. We just sit on the episode. I think it's actually in the process of being released now. Part 1 was released, and then part 2 will be Thursday. And we're talking about the trip that Todd and I went on and that we quit. Like, yeah, forget this. It's too hot. And Todd goes, we could have just hiked at night and just rested during the day. And I'm like, why didn't I think of that? Like, what the heck? Like, something that simple to just alternate my days and nights, and it would have been perfect. And I just sat there and I'm like, what the heck? Yeah. Why did we do that? Why did we quit? Definitely thinking outside of the box. So I love that answer. Sarah, what about you?
I'm pretty adamant about sunscreen. Of course, that's going to prevent sunburn, but I feel like it keeps me cool. I don't know if that's just um, I don't know if that's real or not, but I feel like I get less exhausted. But I wear a hat pretty much all the time. I prefer like a baseball cap, but my hiking buddies know it's a rough day for me if I have to bring out the sun hat because I think I look really goofy in the sun hat. But I'll wear it. It makes a really big difference. Brad's got a pretty funny hat that he wore for his last rim for him. I think he should tell us about that, and you should probably include a photo of that.
Yeah, I may do that. It's umbrella. So yeah, I bought some. I saw them on one of the rim to rim hikes, and it is literally an umbrella that sits on top of your head, and you look hideous. But I'd rather look. Well, you need a hat, Jason. No matter
Ouch.
if you go outside, you need a hat.
Ouch. I deserve it.
It's
I mean, I
like
made old jokes.
Yeah, but I do. I have an umbrella hat that literally will come out over my shoulders, and I'm hiking in the shade no matter where I am. And it will drop the temp. You be 10 degrees cooler.
this is how I feel when I wear this hat. This is a sad day, but it makes a difference. It makes a big
Absolutely.
difference.
And so to the listeners, we're showing our favorite hiking hats. Too bad that you won't get the video. Well, maybe if I do a short of it. Brad, you nailed it. You nailed it. You nailed it. To me, and maybe just because I was out of it, not in the know, a sun hoodie is the absolute best piece of gear when hiking in Texas. Whether it's winter, whether it's summer, the sun hoodie is the key. And I discovered Outdoor Vitals has some sun hoodies that I absolutely love. And you incorporate it with this Marion Outdoors hat. This is the best hiking hat in the world. And I know at first you would say, Jason, it has these big holes. But if you put it with the sun hoodie covers this up, but it also allows for ventilation. So to the listeners, get on the Marion Outdoors website and order this orange hat that has a turtle on the front, and you're gonna thank me. I promise you. Kind of getting back, I don't even remember where we left off, but all the dangerous episodes in my hiking life so far has been due to the heat and managing of hydration. I think it's something that you definitely can't take for granted. Research how to deal with these types of things. I think also it's important to know your body and know what your water needs are for cold weather, hot weather. And I know there's general rules, and I'm not a doctor. And so I would definitely say if you don't know, there's a gallon of water a day or something, I think it's safe to that you would go by that. And then as you get more experience, you definitely will be able to customize something that works for you. Sunscreen, sun hoodies, hats are an absolute must. Cover up your skin.
And a cooling rag is great.
So as we start to kind of close this, first I want to say, we got a couple more questions, and then we have two traditional questions that I always end an episode with. I've really enjoyed myself, and we have a ton more that I want to get through with you guys. So I hope that at a later point, when you have a break and you've slayed the rim to rim, that you guys can come back and finish this out. But I've really enjoyed it. And again, I thank you for, giving me some of your Saturday.
Oh, it's been a fun conversation. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad you've enjoyed it. And so real quickly, I'm coming to you and I want to get into hiking and backpacking in your area. What is one, and I don't want to go to something local. I want a state park. Like I want to be official with this. What is just a good, I know we kind of touched on it, but what is in your opinion, a good, friendly beginner hike at Palo?
Doing some of those inner canyon trails. So like the Juniper Cliffside, for example, or the Paseo del Rio Trail, both really friendly. There's beautiful scenery, get some rock formations. You also get some running water. It's a good place to start.
Yeah, shade. Not as yeah, and then not as heavily trafficked as say Lighthouse will be.
Okay.
You ask anyone else, they're going to tell you to go to Lighthouse.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm a huge fan on going somewhere where I don't see anybody. So,
Yeah.
So Brad, what is your most rewarding hike in Texas?
Thus far,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
There have been several, and we talked about this earlier, but I think it was getting to do Guadalupe Peak with my sons.
Yeah.
From a rewarding standpoint, being able to create a memory with them. I hope that they will never forget that because I won't. There have been others that were, a lot harder that we did that, were rewarding in different ways. Being able to accomplish something hard is always a good feeling. But I think getting to spend time with my sons is probably the most rewarding. And it really isn't always just hiking.
Right. For sure. Sarah, what about you?
I think the most rewarding hike, most memorable that I've done here in Texas has been our first OCD of Palo Canyon. So our OCD challenge was to hike every inch of every trail in the park over a weekend. And depending on how you do it, because a lot of the trails do connect, there's between 48 and 54 miles of trail. And I had never tried to do anything close to that in a weekend. We did it in 2 long days. And that first day, because of whatever factors, nutrition, rest, whatever, was one of the hardest days of hiking I've ever done. I've done objectively harder things in my life, but that felt so difficult. And just trusting that this is momentary. Let me go home, have some rest, see how I feel in the morning, knowing that it would that I would be able to pick it back up the next day and just continue to go, was a really important lesson, I think, for me. So that was a very memorable, meaningful hike.
I think for me, absolutely, and sharing the moments on Guadalupe Peak with my 4 kids, all, just a backpacking trip just with each one of them at different times. Definitely, it's got to be the most rewarding, being able to share with them something that I truly love. That's the top, right? I think from a selfish point of view, through hiking the Lone Star Hiking Trail, because it's our long trail, and at that moment, I was like, I, I would never imagine that I would be able to hike 100 miles. So that was kind of cool. And then I set a goal to bag the 10 highest peaks in Texas. And I don't remember, I think it was Blue Ridge North was the last peak that I had to do. And I was expecting it to be a whole lot more emotional than it was, maybe because on the way up there, I had my emotional part, but that was really, really rewarding for me to have accomplished that. And all the failures, the successes, the blood, sweat, the tears that went into that was really cool. So yeah, I think that would definitely, the kids for sure, and then there's a couple little selfish things that I am really happy about. All right, last 2 questions, and you both have to answer them, and they're tradition. Sarah, I'm a new hiker and backpacker. What is one piece of gear that you would recommend that I have?
Good shoes, 100%.
Good shoes. Brad?
Well, I agree with Sarah on the shoes. I also think that to go with the shoes, good socks. Really, you don't need blisters. They'll ruin a hike in a hurry. If you've got, I wear a really cushioned socks. I spend about $18 a pair on my socks, and I'll carry extra ones with me on every hike because there's no better feeling than putting on a fresh pair of socks halfway through a hike.
That is probably the most underrated piece of advice that we have as hikers and backpackers is no one ever packs extra socks, and that is so important on a hike.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. My piece of gear that I would recommend, not a backpack, not a tent, not shoes, because, and this is only my experience, none of that, a tent has never changed the way I hike and backpack. Um, a backpack it's a backpack. It carries stuff. Some are a little more comfortable than others. Shoes, you definitely need a good pair, but like alternating between shoes, usually it doesn't impact me. But this piece of gear right here, the Trekker Joe's water bottle sleeve is is something that has absolutely not Z packs, not hyperlight, not lone peaks. It's this piece of gear right here that has changed the way I can hike and backpack for a bunch of reasons. I'm old. I can't reach behind my hip belts to grab my water. So the water is right here on my shoulder strap. I can have two on my shoulder straps. So it's amazing that on our big water carries that the weight that you are usually carrying, to have some of that weight on the front of the backpack as well as the back of the backpack, hip belts and just in your backpack, it makes the backpack feel 1000% better. Also, using these, I always know how much water I have. And, of course, the distance that you're going that day. So you can it helps you to ration how you're drinking. Okay, I have a liter here, a half liter here, and then what's in the back. But that thing right there has been the biggest game changer for me in hiking and backpacking. So I have about 8 or 9 of these, and I love them. Last question, Sarah. I'm a new hiker backpacker. I want to get into it. What is one piece of safety advice that you would give me before I start this journey?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious, but always tell someone where you're going. I'd say a really good system for that I developed is to create a Google Doc, and a lot of that information can stay the same. Your license plate, address, any kind of pertinent information about yourself, but then you can easily put the trailhead that you've parked at, the route that you plan to do, approximate time that you'll arrive and leave. And you can share that with some friends. Once they've accepted that invite, they have access to it on their Google Docs. So if there's ever any sort of question, they could easily pull that up and have all that information.
Absolutely. That's mine, and we'll get into that in a second. Brad, what about you?
I think test your gear before you go out. You want to make sure everything works. If you've never been out or you just bought something new, whether it be a camp stove or a flashlight or an emergency radio or whatever it is, be familiar with how it works, know that it works before you go out. You don't want to find out on the trail that something's wrong with your gear.
No, no. Yeah, I mean, a lot of us have backyards. Use them. Set up your tent. Cook a meal. Especially even in bad weather. Like sometimes I'll go in the backyard during a rainstorm and set everything up. How's it? How does it work out? Or when it's 17 degrees outside, I'll go camp out in the backyard and just, how does my quilt? How's the sleeping pad? Oh, it's R-rated, whatever. Does it make a difference? Those types of things. You're absolutely right. But coming back to your point, Sarah, I don't need to be a technical person to have anything fancy. I don't need GPS. I don't need anything, and it's free of charge. Just tell somebody where your itinerary. Text it, email it, Google Docs, word of mouth. Just tell somebody I'm going to be at this trailhead. I'm going to hike so many miles, and I should be done by this time. And you can do that for free. Like you don't need anything special. And if you don't change your itinerary, so if you guys are my person that I'm going to give my itinerary to, and I get to the trailhead, like this happened to me. I told my wife, "Hey, I'm heading out to Trailhead 6." I got to Trailhead 6. It was a complete lake. So I texted her, "Hey, I'm going to Trailhead 9, same amount of miles, should finish about 30 minutes, later than I told you because I got to drive there." Well, I don't know. She was taking a nap or something. She never responded. Well, I didn't change my itinerary. I just went home. And so you look at so many people that have been lost on these long trails or, found off side trails and no one knew that that's what they were going to do. If for me, in my opinion, if give an itinerary to somebody and don't change it unless they can confirm back to you that I received the new itinerary. But yeah, so I think you guys are spot on. All right. Well, you ready to wrap it up? It's been 3 hours. I'm ready for you guys to start enjoying your Saturday. And again, I thank you so much for taking the time, coming on the podcast, supporting the podcast. Yeah, and I definitely we have so much more that I want to information that I want to get from you. Hike, backpacking, safety, encounters with wildlife. Yeah, I mean, just so much. So I hope that you all had fun, and I hope that you will definitely be back, hopefully sooner than later.
Sounds good. Hope to see you on the trail sometime soon, Jason.
Yeah, Jason, you get back up here and let's all go do a hike.
Oh, absolutely.
That's where we're headed now. Sarah and I are going to go. Uh, we got to get ready for the heat, so we're going to get a little acclimated. It's warmer today, and I checked the forecast. It's going to be 102 degrees at Phantom Ranch on Friday when we hike.
Oh,
So,
man.
so we got to get a little bit used to that. I've been actually driving without the air conditioner on and the windows rolled up in my car. Just so I get to work and I walk out and I walk in and I'm sweating and like, what are you doing? What's the matter with you? You okay? I was like, yeah, I just, here's what I'm doing. So
Leave an itinerary.
yeah, well, We will, and my wife knows where we'll be, and so anyhow, yeah. Next time we talk, we will have. By the time this airs, we will have completed a rim to rim in the Grand Canyon. Looking forward to that, and a rim
Awesome.
to rim in the fall.
All right. Well, you guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend.
You as well.
And that wraps up another exciting episode of the Trailblazing Texas podcast. We hope you enjoyed the episode today, and stay tuned for our next episode where we will pick back up where we left off and guarantee to uncover many more hiking gems and share many more tips to enhance your experience on the trail. Until then, happy trails and happy hiking.